Hello YouTube, and today I'm going to be showing you what the range is on these skulk sensors. So I've outlined in red the area in which you will trigger the skulk sensor. It's 8 blocks. So 8 blocks away, if you're 9 blocks then it won't detect you, and it goes in this little sort of circle pattern. I can run along here and nothing happens. As soon as I step inside the red and start walking around, it'll trigger that skulk sensor. And as you can see, I just got it hooked up to a quick T flip-flop which goes to a redstone lamp. So you could use this for a number of different interesting things. Here is a visual look at, let me just set the time, let me set the time today. So this is a visual look at how wool blocks affect the triggering of skulk sensors. So if I step on this red and move, it will trigger the light. Anywhere on the red except for, so all along here where I'm breaking these blocks will be triggered, but anywhere on the green coming out to here will be perfectly fine. You can, when you've got a wool block placed in the corner, that's the effect, that's the what happens to where it's detected. And yeah, it's just a visual explanation. Here's one of the wool blocks are much more effective in covering more blocks when they're placed directly beside rather than at a diagonal to the skulk sensor. So as you can see, I can walk around freely in this green zone, but as soon as I step on the red, it'll trigger the skulk sensor to go off. And if you put 2 wool blocks down, it covers a massive area, including the diagonal, so you don't have to put wool in the diagonal in order to block off this entire diagonal area. This is a 3D representation of how far a skulk sensor's range is at about 7 blocks off the ground. So this skulk sensor is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's this at the 7th block above the ground, and all of this red area will trigger the skulk sensor. So if you're walking around on this glass within this little sphere that exists around the skulk sensor, you'll trigger it. But as soon as you step outside, say if I were to break this, and I was in this little hole here, I can jump up and down and it won't trigger anything as long as I'm standing on green. So anywhere on this green area, if I were to break this, that's not going to trigger it. It's like about an 8 block radius and sort of a sphere that surrounds the skulk sensor, which is where it can detect movement. Here we've got a one under the ground. It can detect up to about 7 blocks under the ground. So you can have one of these 7 blocks under the ground and it will detect you walking around it on the surface. And yeah, that's just some basic skulk sensor mechanics which have been introduced into the game in 1.19. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.